Revealed. 3 haunted true scary tales that expose unexplained terrors and sinister secrets. Kate crossed the threshold of her new suburban home, heart racing like a wild horse. The place appeared quiet, almost too quiet, shadows creeping in the corners where the flickering fluorescent lights struggled to keep darkness at bay. With 2 kids to care for, she put on a brave face, ready to tackle the grueling night shifts at the local diner. But after just a few days, the unfamiliarity of the neighborhood began to gnaw at her. This was supposed to be a safe haven, but now it felt foreign and threatening, every creak of the floorboards sending shivers down her spine. The kitchen felt like a prison as her children drifted into sleep. The ominous quiet pressed in on her, and whispers seemed to echo from the dim light illuminating the walls, chilling her bones. On nights when her nerves were frayed, she imagined countless eyes watching her from the darkness outside. Was there someone out there, mirroring her movements? She chased the thought away, convincing herself it was only the sleep deprivation playing tricks on her mind. Still, her heart raced as the old fluorescent lights flickered like a warning siren in the dark. During her shifts, the diner buzzed with laughter and warmth, but the faces and conversations faded when she overheard hushed talks of the guardian of the neighborhood. The older patrons shared too many laughs at the good old days, too many glances exchanged that left her feeling queasy. She learned of the supposed guardian's past, once a beloved figure, now linked to vanished children from years gone by. Those shadows gained weight, and whispers of lost innocence echoed in her mind as she scrubbed sticky tables late one night. A chilling tale unfurled. A connection to missing children. A tale of a spirit luring them from homes, lingering in her thoughts like a dark cloud. What if? Loomed large like a thunderstorm. The neighborhood welcomed Kate at first, with friendly waves and cozy gatherings. Now, those smiles felt forced, and the stories of lost children haunted her every step. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Night after night, Kate meticulously checked the locks, listening for footsteps echoing eerily on the pavement outside. The neighborhood that had promised safety began to close in on her like a suffocating fog. One night, as she tucked her children into bed, the shadows outside gathered in a familiar form, a figure watching from across the street. Its eyes glinted in the darkness, cold and calculating. The realization washed over her like ice water. What if it knew her routines? Each shadow felt tangible now. Every rustle outside sounded like a warning. The weight of panic bore down on her chest, and despair clawed at her. This neighborhood, once a refuge, had transformed into a breeding ground for terror. With the whispers growing louder and the shadows inching closer, she faced the ultimate question. How far would she go to protect her children from the nightmare that had seeped into their lives? The air was thick with tension as Kate's fingers trembled against the cold metal of the lock. It clicked loudly in the quiet, breaking the suffocating silence that lingered in the house. Her heart pounded, each beat a drum echoing her dread as she crept toward the window, her breath held tight in her chest. The figure was still there, a dark silhouette shrouded in mist, watching her with an intensity that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. What did it want? The question gnawed at her, sliding through her mind like ice. Clutching a flashlight, she swung the beam toward the figure, desperate to dispel the darkness wrapped around it. But the light revealed nothing, only the empty street and a collection of distorted shadows dancing on the pavement. The figure had vanished. Kate leaned against the wall, heart racing, mind whirling. The stories at the diner seemed to materialize before her eyes, the guardian looming larger than life. Had she been too quick to dismiss the warnings? Images of lost children, their faces pale and wide-eyed, swirled in her mind. She felt an overwhelming urge to protect her own, to guard them from whatever malevolent force lurked in the quiet. That night, sleep eluded her. She paced the dimly lit living room, glancing at her children nestled beneath a sea of blankets, oblivious to the danger that seemed to pulse just outside. Outside it felt like something was prowling in the night, a predator waiting, watching. Memories of the diner as patrons, their laughter tinged with bitterness, filled her thoughts. It was clear they knew more than they had shared, and now she was left fighting a battle alone. Who could she trust? In a moment of desperate resolve, she grabbed the phone, her fingers shaking as she dialed the number of the only neighbor she had forged a connection with, the elderly Mrs. Harper. The phone rang endlessly until a frail voice answered, the weariness palpable. "Kate, is everything all right?" Mrs. Harper's tone held concern. But there was something else, fear. "Maybe? I saw someone outside. I think they're watching us." Kate's voice wavered, the weight of her fear spilling into the conversation. There was a pause, an uncomfortable silence stretched by distance and uncertainty. "You have to keep the doors locked, dear," Mrs. Harper replied softly. "It was always safer that way, always." "Safer from what?" Kate demanded, growing impatient with the vague warnings. "What do you know about this neighborhood? Some things should stay buried, child." Her voice trailed off low, laced with dread. "You don't want to uncover what's been forgotten." The call ended abruptly, leaving Kate gripping the phone like a lifeline, the words sending icy fingers down her spine. Forgotten what horrors lurked in the history of her home? She felt a sense of urgency prickling at her skin. She needed answers as dawn approached. Kate found herself rifling through old boxes in the attic, desperate to uncover any clue that might explain the heavy veil of dread settling over the neighborhood. Dust motes floated in the thin ray of sunlight, casting an ethereal glow on the remnants of a past she knew little about. And then, she stumbled upon a weathered album, frayed edges hinting at memories long tucked away. Flipping through the pages, a chilling realization tightened around her throat. Each photo revealed smiling families from decades ago, but as she turned to the last few pages, the smiles faded. They were replaced by images of children, vacant stares, some marked with red ink, names scrawled beneath in haunting cursive. It struck her like a punch to the gut. This wasn't merely history. It was a warning. Suddenly, a loud knock echoed from downstairs, jerking her back to reality. The sound was heavy, deliberate. Her heart raced as she crept to the top of the staircase, fear choking her breath. Could it be the figure? Or a neighbor come to check on her? Or something far more sinister? She had to find out. Taking a deep breath, she gripped the banister tightly and began to make her way down, each step feeling like a descent into hell. As she rounded the last corner, the door stood slightly ajar, the shadows spilling in like a malevolent mist. The next moment, she would wish she had never answered that knock. What awaited her beyond the door? Was it the guardian, beckoning her into the dark, or something altogether more terrifying? The door creaked ever so slightly as Kate reached for the handle, her fingers ice cold and unsteady. A gust of wind blew past her, chilling her further. Each inch of the door felt like a gateway to something infinitely dark. The world beyond lay cloaked in an unsettling quiet, like the calm before a storm. Taking a breath, she pushed the door open. The creak echoed eerily through the house. No one was there, just the empty porch, draped in shadows from the early dawn. Her heart sank, a mix of relief and lingering dread flooding her veins. But as she peered out into the dawn light, she noticed subtle traces, footprints leading away from her doorstep, sinking into the wet grass. Barefoot prints. Two thoughts collided in her mind. Who would be outside in the early morning cold, and why were they so close to her home? Anxiety gripped her, tightening her chest. Were her children safe? She spun around, hurrying back towards the living room where they were sleeping soundly. But with each step inside, a noise nagged at her, a faint, rhythmic tapping that seemed to pulse gently, as if something was trying to get her attention. It didn't come from the front. It was somewhere deeper in the house, in the darkest corner of the hall. The sound was like a heartbeat. "Mommy?" came a gentle voice from behind her. It was Lily, her youngest, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "Shoo, honey. Stay close," Kate whispered, her voice trembling. She felt the press of fear building up again, encasing her like a tomb. They stepped cautiously into the hall, hearts synced to the sound echoing in the distance. When they reached the end of the corridor, Kate's flashlight flickered, casting strange shadows on the walls. It steadied and illuminated the old family pictures they'd hung there, fading memories of laughter and togetherness. But the light caught something unexpected, a figure lingering in the corner, just beyond the light's reach. Mom, the whisper coiled around her, tight and cold. Summoning all her courage, she advanced toward it. The figure dressed in old-fashioned clothes, movements jerky, like a glitch in her reality. Her breath hitched as memories raced back. Mrs. Harper's warning. The cursed past of this neighborhood. What do you want? She breathed out, fear lacing her voice. The figure seemed to respond, a finger extended, pointing to something beneath the floorboards. It was a child's toy, a small, red fire truck, buried partially in the dark. Kate's hand shook as she knelt down, pulling it out. It was worn, dusty but seemingly innocent. Yet, as she held it up, the air shifted. The tapping sound morphed into sinister laughter that echoed through the walls, full of malice. "Mommy, let us go back," Lily whimpered, her small fingers clutching Kate's arm, clinging to her for dear life. But Kate couldn't move. Something deep inside told her she had to know. The laughter grew louder, swirling around her, and her heart raced as she felt the weight of eyes watching her from unseen corners. The laughter faded, replaced by soft cries, echoing and pleading, as if the house itself was mourning the lost children. Help us," the whispers clawed at her, pulling her further into the growing dread. "What have I awakened?" she gasped. Then she felt it, a sudden rush of cold air whooshing past her. The shadows flickered and condensed into a swirling mass surrounding her and Lily, an ominous presence more potent than before. And then, the lights flickered off, plunging them into complete darkness. The question screamed through her mind. Was the guardian here to protect them, or to lead them deeper into danger? Kate's stomach twisted as the whispers grew louder, echoing the same desperate plea. She had to act, but what could she do? The shadows throbbed, pulsing with a life of their own, threatening to swallow them whole as the light returned. She made her decision, a final breath of resolve anchoring her. "Lily, we have to find the truth," she whispered, knowing full well it might not end the way she had hoped. But what truth awaited them outside the shadows? Would it reveal salvation, or unleash horrors they weren't ready to face? The darkness felt heavier, as if it had weight. Kate struggled to move, her heartbeat echoing in her ears, drowning out the frantic whispers. She grabbed Lily's hand tightly, squeezing it, anchoring both of them in reality. "Stay close," Kate urged. The child's warmth beside her was a small comfort against the encroaching chill. She pointed the flashlight ahead, the beam slicing through the void. The walls appeared closer, the shadows morphing into grotesque shapes that seemed to reach for them. "Don't look away," she reminded herself, feeling the weight of unseen eyes tracking their every move. Cautiously, they stepped further into the corridor. The tapping sound returned, louder now, more insistent, vibrating beneath the floor. It felt like a pulse, tied to something larger and older than the house itself. Just as she was about to dismiss it as a figment of her fear, a sudden, sharp scream sliced through the air, a child's cry. "Mommy!" Lily squeezed her hand tighter, nearly pulling her to a halt. "Mommy, I don't like this." Panic dripped from her voice, edged with genuine terror. "Neither do I," Kate whispered back, swallowing the lump in her throat. The house was alive in a way she had never recognized, pulsating with sorrow. She focused on the sound of the child's cry, desperate to find its source, but it faded just as suddenly as it had pierced through the walls. Then the laughter returned, twisted and jagged, weaving through the shadows like a ghostly wraith. Help us," it mocked, layering distress with malevolence. Why do you need help?" Kate cried into the darkness, her voice trembling. The house shuddered, as if acknowledging her question, and then fell silent, the ominous atmosphere thickening with dread. Cautiously, she continued down the corridor, approaching the old wooden door at the end, the only thing left unexamined. This door had always been locked, always whispered of things best left undisturbed. Now it beckoned an open mouth of insatiable darkness. "Mommy, please," Lily begged, but Kate had no choice, not now. She felt compelled to uncover what lay behind it. With a deep breath, she reached out, her fingers gripping the cold iron handle. It turned slowly, the creaking of the hinges sounding like a warning. Darkness spilled out like smoke, crawling across her skin. Inside was a small room, carved into the house's very foundation. Forgotten toys are strewn about, their faces twisted in silent screams. Candle wax melted into grotesque figures on the sills. In the center stood a small, old-fashioned mirror. Its glass rippled and darkened, like a portal to another nightmare. "Mommy, I don't want to be here." Lily's voice trembled, her small body quaking next to Kate. She felt the weight of her daughter's fear, but curiosity gripped her tighter. "Just for a second," Kate promised, stepping closer to the mirror. The laughter transformed into whispers again, snaking around them like fog. They grew more intense, almost coherent as they spoke. "Help us," a chorus of whispers, low and mournful. "We're lost, help us." Kate's reflection stared back, but it wasn't just her. Multiple faces crowded around her image, swirling in agony, eyes wide and pleading, mouths open in silent screams. She stumbled back in horror, nearly tripping over Lily. Desperation flooded Kate's mind, clusters of thoughts crashing together. They could leave, they could run. But what if that's exactly what the house wanted? What lay beyond the safety of those walls? The cacophony of cries intensified, tugging at her resolve. Their children, had they gone through the same horror? "Mommy, what's happening?" Lily cried, tears spilling down her cheeks, her innocence swallowed by darkness. "Stay close," Kate whispered again, nearly choking on the dread settling in her chest. She needed to make a choice, and quickly. "What if we can help them?" she thought. The idea felt like a bitter fruit, sweet and rotten at the same time. What if uncovering the truth meant facing something far worse? Determined, Kate took a deep breath, her hands steadying on the mirror's edge. She would not let her fear dictate their fates. "Let us see who you really are," she said, pressing her palm against the glass, feeling an unnatural warmth radiate from it. But just as she did, she heard a single, chilling word whispered into the void, distorting her own thoughts. "Run." Her heart dropped. What had she done? Now the house rumbled like a wild beast awakening. Shadows danced violently, the walls vibrating as if alive. With panic surging through her veins, she turned to Lily. "We need to go. Now." As they dashed for the door, a horrifying realization struck Kate. There was far more to uncover than she had ever imagined, far more sinister things waiting behind them. They darted through the darkened corridor, the pounding echoes of their footsteps merging with the heartbeat of the house. The laughter twisted into howls, almost as if the walls were snatching at their heels, desperate to pull them back. "Mommy, I can't see," Lily cried, her terror palpable as she stumbled, nearly falling. Kate yanked her up, keeping her close. "Just a bit further," Kate urged, her voice barely above a whisper, but her heart raced with adrenaline. The door loomed ahead like a lifeline, but the shadows whispered promises of unimaginable horrors, urging them to turn back. With each step, the air thickened, pressing against her lungs. Kate felt roots of fear burrowing deep in her chest as if she were being dragged into the ground. The sense of danger was deafening, but the instinct to protect Lily surged within her, overriding every other impulse. Finally reaching the door, Kate twisted the handle and yanked it open, cringing as the hinges shrieked in protest. The short descent down the creaking stairs led them to a dimly lit room filled with dust and decay, the basement. Shadows lurked in every corner, creeping like hungry beasts. "Mommy," Lily's voice trembled, tears glistening in her eyes. "What if we can't escape?" Kate turned, her flashlight faltering, illuminating a tattered sheet hanging in the corner. It swayed gently, looking disturbingly similar to something wrapped in sorrow. "We will escape," Kate said, shaking off the tightening grip of dread. She stepped forward, lifting the flashlight to reveal the source of the movement. Beneath the sheet lay a doll, one she recognized from her childhood. But this doll was wrong. Its paint had chipped, flesh-like fabric torn away, revealing something dark and rotten beneath. Before she could comprehend the implications, the doll's eyes blinked open, shimmering with a life of their own. It grinned, revealing a mauve-stained, jagged teeth. "Help us," it echoed, voice a distorted mockery of a child's plea. Kate recoiled, shoving Lily behind her as a wave of nausea crashed against her. "What is this?" she cried, scrambling backward. "Fear," the doll rasped, its voice soaked in malice. "This house thrives on fear." The room felt alive, the shadows reaching out toward her, hunger lurking just beneath the surface. The lights flickered, casting eerie shapes across the walls, a dance of despair. The whispers grew louder, harmonizing into a bone-chilling song, a chaotic symphony of lost souls pleading for release. Unseen hands gripped her heart, squeezing tightly. Each cry, every tortured whisper thudded against her chest, threatening to suffocate her. "Run!" Kate's instinct screamed. But where? Lily gripped her tight, a fragile anchor in the storm of terror swirling around them. "Mommy, I'm scared." Her voice was small, barely piercing the cacophony, but it jolted Kate into action. "Follow me," Kate yelled, racing towards another door at the far end of the basement. Each step brought forth a new wave of shadows, crawling under her skin, scratching and clawing at her mind. They reached the door and hurled it open, fleeing into a musty room filled with boxes stacked high, memories long forgotten. Dust motes floated like disturbed spirits. As they stumbled inside, Kate closed the door behind them, pressing her back against it as if it might shield them from the chaos outside. Time felt slippery, distorted within these walls. Kate's breath was ragged as she turned to survey the room and what it contained. But as her flashlight bobbed across the room, something caught her eye on the opposing wall. "Mommy, look!" Lily gasped, pointing. A faded photograph hung crookedly, surrounded by grimy glass. It depicted a family, a mother, a father, and a group of children. Each child's face was scratched out, their eyes X'd in with a furious hand. They look like us," Lily whispered, stepping closer, her small fingers hovering above their captured likenesses. A chill ran down Kate's spine. It wasn't just a resemblance, it was something deeper, something unforgiving. "Lily, stay back," she ordered, but it was too late. The moment her daughter reached for the photograph, the house groaned as if it were suffering, a primordial wail echoing through the bones of their refuge. Windows rattled, and the floor began to tremble, an angry heartbeat that surged from the shadows. "Time's up," a chilling voice whispered from the depths of the room. "Your time is up." With horror suffocating her, Kate turned to Lily. "We have to find a way out, now." But the shadows were closing in, their whispers morphing into menacing laughter echoing around them, drowning out her words. Every instinct screamed that they had awoken something no one should ever disturb, something insatiable, something that wanted more. As the walls rumbled violently, the photograph shattered, casting shards of memories flying around, like jagged teeth eager for flesh. "Run!" Kate's voice broke through the terror, echoing in her mind as they bolted towards the far side of the room, fleeing from what lay behind them, but the weight of something darker was already racing to catch up. What awaited them in the shadows? Would they escape, or become another pair of lost souls entwined in the house's relentless hunger? The floor cracked beneath them as they sprinted to the dimly lit corner, fear crashing over them like cold waves. Kate's mind whirled. The photograph, the doll, each twisted relic spoke of a history that clung to the house like a cursed shroud. The laughter of the shadows echoed through the air, a taunting chorus urging them to despair. "Mommy!" Lily's voice sliced through the chaos, a sharp cry wrapped in panic. Her small hands slipped from Kate's grip for just a moment, and the world spun, threatening to tear them apart. "Stay close," Kate shouted, wrapping her fingers around Lily's wrist, pulling her back into the chaotic dance of darkness. The shadows writhed, eager to encapsulate them in their cold embrace. She spotted another door, rusted and jagged around the edges. With no time to hesitate, She maneuvered toward it, clutching Lily tighter. Open it, open it, Lily urged, her eyes wide, glistening with unshed tears. The shadows seemed to retreat momentarily, a demonic tide withdraw for just a breath. Kate grabbed the handle with sweaty palms, twisting it frantically. She threw the door open, heart pounding, and they plunged into a narrow passageway under the house. The walls were damp and whispering secrets, the air wet and suffocating. A flicker of instinct warned her to turn back. But the laughter surged again behind them, roaring with anger. They had disturbed something deeply buried in this house, something ancient. Run! Kate called again, her voice harsh against the drumming of her heart. They raced down the corridor, shadows stalking them with malicious glee. With each step, the light from her flashlight dimmed, flickering erratically as if the battery was dying. Struggling against the deepening darkness, Kate held her breath. Lily, keep your eyes open. We have to stay together. I don't want to be here anymore. Lily gasped, the terror wrapping around her words. Suddenly, a figure loomed in the distance, tall and hunched. The flashlight beam caught it, a silhouette beyond human comprehension. It twisted unnaturally, eyes hollow and dark, features warped, a grotesque mockery of life. You can't escape it, hissed, words slithering through the air like venom. Kate's skin went cold. Lily, to me, she barked, yanking her daughter closer, panic clawing at her throat. The monster shuffled forward, moving with a speed that contradicted its slow appearance. They had to find a way out. Panic morphed into adrenaline, and she felt the floor ripple beneath them, a warning, a heartbeat. They darted left, escalating deeper into the bowels of the house. This way. Without thinking, she pushed through another door at the end of the passage, bursting into a larger space filled with old furniture draped in white sheets like corpses awaiting burial. Kate's breaths came in quick bursts, and she resisted the urge to check over her shoulder. The tall figure from before seemed to loom behind them, drawing ever closer. Desperation clawed at the back of her mind. Had they unwittingly ventured into its trap? A thumping noise erupted from behind, the huge beast seemingly able to physically manifest from the shadows. Could hear her thoughts, could feel their fear. Kate's mind raced, hands squeezing Lily's in a protective grip. I see you, it rasped. You can't hide in that moment. A beam of hope ignited within her. A window glimmered in the corner of the room, partially covered by dark curtains. There, Kate shouted, pointing. It was their possible escape, a reflection of light that pierced the darkness. They shoved their way toward the window, but just as Kate grasped the curtain's edge, an icy hand latched onto her shoulder, nails digging in. A scream swallowed in her throat. The air chilled in an instant, slicing through her resolve. Fear is your only friend here. The creature breathed, and she could feel its rancid breath against her skin. Let go of my mom, Lily screamed, and her small voice pierced through Kate's fog of panic. The grip slackened for just a brief moment, enough for Kate to surge forward. Before she could process what was happening, the window shattered as she and Lily dove through a drop leading to unknown dangers outside. As they fell, terror twisted into a question echoing louder than the house's haunting whispers. What waited for them beyond the glass? Was the darkness behind them truly gone, or would it follow in relentless pursuit? They hit the ground hard, the impact knocking the breath from their lungs, cold earth meeting their bodies like a hard slap. Dazed and gasping, Kate struggled to pull Lily close, the little girl's whimpers piercing the stillness of the night. Moonlight spilled across the backyard, illuminating the chaos around them. The house loomed behind, a monstrous silhouette against the starlit sky, its darkened windows like hollow eyes watching their every move. Mommy, it hurts, Lily cried, brushing off dirt from her arms as she squirmed. Just a little longer, sweetie, Kate whispered, scanning the area for any sign of the creature that had pursued them. With every second, the chill of dread settled heavier over her shoulders. We've got to move. They scrambled to their feet, trembling with a mix of adrenaline and fear. Kate took Lily's hand, their fingers intertwined like a lifeline in a storm. Together, they bolted toward the edges of the yard, where the shadows thickened under the trees. Each footfall whispered warnings. Every noise felt amplified in the still night, the rustling leaves, the distant echo of the house's malevolence, chilling Kata's heart deeper as they reached the treeline. A branch cracked underfoot, sending a jolt through Kate. She froze, instinctively pulling Lily to her side, her eyes darting back to the house. Had it heard? The silence felt deafening, wrapping around them like a thick blanket. Then came the sound, a low growl, reverberating through the ground, making their bones rattle. "Run," Kate urged, urging Lily onward, her pulse racing faster than the shadows that slid towards them. They dashed into the trees, the branches clawing at their clothes, nature itself seeming to conspire against their escape. The growling escalated, morphing into a harsh laughter that echoed from the direction they came. A twisted game, she thought, as if the darkness relished in their fear. "Mommy, what is that?" Lily gasped, looking back with wide, terrified eyes. "I don't know," Kate responded, her heart thrumming in her chest like a frightened bird. "But we can't stop." Just when they thought they might be free, the ground shifted beneath them. A sinkhole opened suddenly, as if the earth itself were a hungry mouth, ready to swallow them whole. Before Kate could react, she felt the ground tremble, and she grasped Lily tightly as they both fell forward, tumbling into the shadowy abyss. The world turned surreal. They landed on something soft, a web of roots intertwined like a net, cradled them but did not forgive them. The stark smell of mold and decay seeped into their lungs, and Kate felt an urgency to move. This was no refuge. It was just another layer of the nightmare. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily's voice trembled, filling Kate with an urge to protect her with the darkness so close. Fear clawed at them both. Okay, Kate said breathlessly, scanning their surroundings. There was a faint, flickering light in the distance, an eerie glow beckoning from deeper within the cavern of roots. "Let us go," she said, her voice firm. She pulled Lily along, the dread edging against her resolve. As they crept closer to the light, whispers coiled around them, spilling secrets and curses, heightening the air like static electricity. Kate could hardly breathe, the weight of history and sorrow palpable in the darkness. "What's happening?" Lily pressed against her, fear etched on her small features. Just ahead, the glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Could it be a way out, or something worse? Before Kate could answer, the laughter returned louder, more sinister, slithering through the roots like a serpent. The light flickered, shifting into forms that morphed into faces of despair, each one twisted in agony, begging for release. Then there was silence. It swallowed everything, the laughter, their breathing. Even the whispers faded into the encroaching dark. "Mommy?" But that wasn't Kate's voice answering. "It's too late for you." A voice hissed, a sound so wrong that it sent chills clawing down Kate's spine. The darkness pressed in around them, and Kate felt the shadows reach for her, tendrils of dread encircling her throat like a vice. In that moment, she realized they couldn't hide. The darkness was upon them. What awaited in the depths of this sinister abyss? Would they find freedom in the light, or would it lead them deeper into something far more sinister? The silence shattered like glass, the weight of it pressing down on Kate's chest. Every hair stood on end as the voice slithered through the darkness, coiling its sinister promise around them. "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Each word fought against the dread that clawed at her throat. "There's no escape. You're part of this now." The voice twisted like smoke in the air, wrapping around them, suffocating her hope. "No." Lily yanked at Kate's hand, her small frame shaking with fear. "Mommy, I want to go home." Kate's heart pounded, each beat a reminder of the impossible situation they were in. She scanned the shadows. The flickering light now felt like the eye of a storm, henched and ready to engulf them. The roots beneath them held her tight, not allowing a single backward step, but the pull of that light tempted, stabbed at her resolve. "Keep moving," she managed to say, squeezing Lily's hand. They stumbled toward the light, hearts racing, their senses heightened. The air was thick, almost sticky, and each breath felt like inhaling despair. As they drew closer, the forms in the light shifted, filling her with horror. Faces twisted in anger, mouths opened in silent screams. The shadows danced around them, moving hungrily, vibrating with a malevolence that raised Kata's skin in goosebumps. How could she keep Lily safe from these restless souls? "Mommy, I don't like it," Lily whimpered, her innocent voice slicing through the dread like a shard of glass. "Just a little more," Kate soothed, desperate to project courage as she pulled Lily forward, deeper into the light's ghastly glow. It became a magnet, drawing them both with a terrifying inevitability. Suddenly, a deep rumbling echoed from the very walls of the cavern, an ominous warning. The roots surrounding them tightened, constricting, threatening to pull them apart. "Stay close," Kate shouted, panic coursing through her veins. She could feel the walls shaking, as if the very earth was angry at their intrusion. "Mommy, look," Lily pointed, a flash of determination cutting through her fear. There, just beyond the grotesque light, was an archway, a possible opening, a chance to escape. "Let us go," Kate cried, urging Lily to run. But as they drew near, the shadows twisted and shrieked. The faces twisted more dramatically, as if protesting their advance. They dashed through the arch, the shrieks echoing behind them, and Kate felt the cold tendrils pull back, embracing the light from which they had fled. On the other side, they found themselves in a vast chamber, walls lined with shimmering glass cages, filled with the writhing shadows of long-lost souls, trapped within their own agony. "Mommy, are we safe?" Lily asked, her voice small and fragile. Kata's heart sank. The moment lingered too long, the realization of their isolation raining down like the darkness themselves. "I don't know." An echoing laugh erupted from behind them, cold and taunting, circling the chamber like a predator savoring its prey. Shadows began to pool at their feet, rising ominously. "Flee as you might, this is where you belong," the voice sang, dripping with cruel delight. With no time to think, Kate grasped Lilia's hand tight. "We need to find a way out." Desperation propelled her forward, chasing after a distant flicker of light that seemed to promise freedom. But each step felt heavier, as if the shadows clung to her legs, reluctant to let them go. "Don't look back. Keep going," she urged, heart racing. But even as they ran, Kate could sense the overwhelming presence of the darkness, following a vile hunger consuming every inch of space behind them. "What if it catches us?" Lily's voice trembled, haunting the air with fear. Kate bit her lip, fighting tears. "It won't. We won't let it." Ahead, the light flickered again, pulsating with an urgency that beckoned them to hurry. The shadows loomed like a storm behind, threatening to swallow them whole. Just as they reached the edge of the light, Kate felt something cold wrap around her ankle, dragging her back into the suffocating darkness. "Mommy!" Lily screamed, reaching out, but Kate could only watch as her daughter was pulled away, the bond stretching thin and snapping like a frail thread. "No!" Driven by a surge of adrenaline, Kate lunged forward, clawing for her child, fear morphing into pure instinct. She could hear the chorus of laughter rise, the demand echo through the dark as she fought against the shadows, desperate to reclaim what she lost. But darkness has a way of swallowing light, and then, everything went black. What lay on the other side of that darkness? Would Kate find Lily again, or was she forever lost to the abyss? Kate gasped, her lungs burning as she clawed through the suffocating void. The darkness pressed against her as if it were a living entity, congealing around her limbs and whispering malicious promises in her ear. "Lily!" Her voice echoed back at her, a taunting mockery of hope. Desperation flooded her veins, and she kicked wildly, feeling the cold grip slacken just enough for her to push against it, propelling forward into the unknown. Suddenly, a light flickered ahead, a teasing glimmer that danced like a star in an alien sky. Instinct took over, and she lunged towards it, tearing through the shadows that threatened to bind her. As she surged forward, her surroundings twisted and morphed. Flickers of movement caught her eye, shadows in the shapes of tortured figures, faces twisted in eternal pain. Their mouths opened in a silent scream, and she could feel the heat of their despair wash over her. "Please, no," she whispered, pain shoving against her heart as she recalled the flicker of her daughter's terrified face. She forced herself to push harder, to reach that sliver of light. When she finally broke through, she stumbled into a cavernous expanse, the air inside thick and suffocating. The light was a ghostly pallor, illuminating a stone altar in the center, dripping with dark viscous liquid that pooled ominously at its base. "What is this place?" she murmured, every instinct screaming at her to flee. The shadows twisted around her ankles like snakes, whispering words she couldn't comprehend. Yet they lodged vivid images into her mind: the broken souls, the despair, the darkness. "Lily!" Panic rapidly returned, flooding her with cold dread as she turned to find her daughter. "Where are you?" In the distance, Kate heard a soft whimper that silenced the tumultuous shadows for a brief moment. It carried clarity amidst the chaos, each sound tugging her heart like a frayed thread. "Mommy! Help me! That way!" Kate shouted, her feet pounding against the stone floor. Heart racing, she ran towards the sound. As she drew closer, the tone shifted, turning into a laughter high-pitched, eerie, and altogether wrong, reverberating off the walls like a taunt. "Lily, I'm coming," she called, nearly stumbling over a slight dip in the ground. It felt alive, crackling beneath her feet, like it was part of a wicked heartbeat. The laughter echoed, swirling around her, threatening to drown out the sounds of her daughter. "Mommy!" The cry was more frantic now, tinged with fear, a reminder of vulnerability that sent a chill through her bones. Moments later, the darkness buzzed, the air thickening with an unsettling energy, forcing Kate to halt. "You're too late," the voice sang, an echo of the same sinister taunter from earlier. "No," she shouted back defiantly, the resolve rising in her. "I will find my daughter." At that moment, the shadows split apart, revealing a narrow passageway lined with grotesque faces, their expressions contorted in eternal agony. They seemed to leer at her, relishing her fear. With no choice, Kate pressed into the passage, each step echoing through the endless abyss, heart galloping like a trapped beast. She could sense the shadows tangling around her, wrapping tighter, each pulse drawing her deeper into their malignant embrace. The passage widened, and for a fleeting moment, she could see silhouettes moving among the shadows, figures that spoke with words of lost dreams. Panic pooled in her stomach as she imagined each one was a soul trapped, just like her daughter must be. "Lily!" she cried again, a raw desperation spilling forth. The hollow darkness did little to reassure her, echoing the emptiness that began to creep into her conviction. But then, the light returned, more intense this time, illuminating a clearing ahead. There at the center was a figure, ghostly yet radiant, and it felt familiar in an inexplicable way. "Mommy!" Lily's voice rang out sweetly yet sorrowfully, catching in the swirling air. Kate rushed, fear and relief colliding within. But as she sprinted forward, the shadowy hands broke free, grasping for her, straining to claw her back. A deep, resonant laughter surrounded her. "You can't save her, you belong here now." Kate faltered as despair threatened to overwhelm her. Yet she pushed through, desperately reaching for the shining figure of her daughter, the distance closing in agonizing minutes. But would she break the darkness that threatened to extinguish her light? In that moment, she felt the truth. With each step, the price of saving Lily weighed heavier, and the shadows laughed louder. What was the trade for light? Would they take more than just her freedom but her very soul? The laughter rose, mixing with the wails of lost souls, becoming a sinister symphony that echoed through the darkness. Would Kate find her daughter, or would the darkness consume them both? The air grew thick with anticipation. Time was slipping away, and every second counted. Kate pushed through the weight of despair, every heartbeat fueling her resolve to reclaim her daughter. The light ahead pulsed like a beacon, drawing her closer, battling back the despair that threatened to swallow her whole. Each step felt monumental, brushing against the cold grasp of the shadows that lurked, clawing at her from the edges of reality. As she approached, she recognized the figure bathed in light. It was Lily, her little girl's face aglow with purity, yet surrounded by a chaos of shadows seeking to ensnare her. "Mommy!" The sound burst forth, filled with desperate hope yet tinged with profound sorrow. "Hold on, Lily. I'm coming," Kate shouted, her voice a fierce proclamation against the wailing abyss. She surged forward, emotions swelling in her chest like a tidal wave. The shadows recoiled, but they were relentless, grasping at her legs, whispering lies, their bitter laughter ringing in the dark. "No!" she yelled, shaking off the tendrils that sought to bind her. "You will not take me or her." Her fingers reached out, desperately closing the distance, grasping for her daughter. Just then, the shadows rippled violently around Lily, swirling like a storm. They absorbed the light, and Kate halted, terror fluttering in her stomach. "Let her go!" she screamed, a primal roar against the darkness that surged forward like a tidal wave, ready to drown them both. "I'm scared, Mommy." Lily's fear blossomed, reaching for her. "Stay with me, baby." Kate pushed herself through the gnawing dread, channeling love and determination into each stride. The shadows lashed out, murmuring malicious promises, trying to wrap around her arms. But she would not yield. With one final surge of strength, she burst through the barrier of darkness and wrapped her arms around Lily. The moment felt electric, the shadows recoiling and howling as a bright light ignited around them. It was as if the bond of a mother's love illuminated their path. "We have to run," she urged, pulling Lily close, her tiny frame fitting perfectly against her. The shadows screamed and thrashed as they began to retreat, anger sizzling in the air. Together they bolted, racing toward the ethereal light now swarming around them, pushing through the fog that clung to their legs. The whispers morphed into desperate cries, hopeless and full of torment, lost souls demanding to be recognized. "Don't look back," Kate reminded herself, but she couldn't resist a glance over her shoulder. The darkness twisted and contorted, shadows reaching out like desperate hands, grasping but ultimately slipping away as they rushed toward the safe haven of escaping light. Then, just as they reached the threshold, the house shuddered, moaning in grief. The walls vibrated as if they might collapse. "You can't leave," a voice roared, echoing with rage from the mouth of the house, a cruel ultimatum piercing the air. "You belong to us. Never." The word exploded from Kate's lips, igniting a flicker of courage within her, igniting more light. As they crossed the threshold, she felt the warmth swell around them, enveloping them in a cocoon of safety. In that moment, she realized they were not escaping just the dark house. They were breaking a cycle, releasing the trapped souls bound to the malevolence. In an instant, they emerged outside, gasping for breath. The cool night air felt like a rebirth, a cleansing flood washing away the remnants of terror. The moon shone bright, illuminating the backyard where they had first stumbled into the clutches of fear. Distantly, the house loomed, dark and silent, a grave reminder of the horrors they had faced. "Mommy?" Lily's voice pierced the quiet, small yet powerful. She grasped Kate's hand, her grip a tether. "We're safe now?" "Yes, baby. We're safe," Kate breathed out, her heart still racing but filled with a warmth that began to replace the dread. They were no longer alone in that oppressive nightmare. Then, they turned and walked away from the shadowy past that had tried to swallow them whole. Each step felt lighter, resonating with newfound hope and resilience. Kate glanced at the house one last time, knowing the darkness would always remain aware. But they were free, forging a new path forward. Kate's heart swelled as she heard the soft laughter of her daughter echoing in the night sky, weaving together their reality with an enchanting possibility. They would create a home, filled with laughter, love, and the light that had always shone within them as they disappeared into the embrace of dawn. Kate knew that darkness could linger, but love's light was eternal. Now, as the story wraps up, don't forget this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories we have in store. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help others discover these thrilling tales. We want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.